So recently we did an unboxing of my old 2DS just because it was one of those nostalgia things and it had been kicking about in my house for so long. I've been playing so many different retro consoles through things like the Retro Pocket 2 and now the Anbernic RG351V. I wanted to see whether or not this thing still holds up today. Both myself and Liam were discussing about how our Nintendo Switches have been gathering dust recently, and we ended up reminiscing about some of the amazing titles that are available on the 2DS that haven't been ported across onto the Switch and you just can't get through any virtual console. And that's why we dug this thing out, just to see how well it performs today. And I've got to say, it is absolutely amazing, especially as a value proposition, little handheld thing that you can carry around with you. One of the first things that struck me about this was just how well made it is. It's really lightweight, it feels really good, and all the buttons have an exceptionally good press. And I suppose you wouldn't expect anything less from a Nintendo handheld. They just make good products at the end of the day, unless obviously it's Joy-Cons with a drift, but you know, moving past that. The dual screen setup was something that I'd just completely forgotten about, and it's actually really nice to be able to use. The dual screen setup's actually one of those things that I completely forgot about, and it's really, really nice to actually use when you get into it, especially when it comes into having to enter data. So things like getting your Wi-Fi password popped in there, and just having that second screen as well just comes in really handy in certain games and titles, for things like maps, for interface for different games. It's just a nifty little thing. And then you've got your little stylus that's tucked away in the side there. So overall, it's just a good little package. Now, probably the best thing about this is just being able to play so many different titles on here. So I picked up Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's about £15. It's something that I've never actually played all the way through, and I've been having an absolute blast. It's so surprising how well this little console performs, and I don't know why, I just had memories of it being just really 2D graphics and nothing particularly intensive, but actually playing something like Zelda on there, although it's not the most graphically demanding game, it looks fantastic. The backlog of titles and the sheer amount of different games that you can get for this is absolutely amazing. And somebody was relatively surprised when they saw the unboxing video that the eShop's still up there, and it is. You can still go onto the Nintendo eShop on here and download all your different games if you want to, or obviously you can pick them up and they still sell a whole host of brand new games on places like Amazon, which is where I picked this up. So overall, you can still get access to most of those games. Now don't get me wrong, some of them are astronomically expensive where obviously they're just not made anymore, which is a bit of a pain. But for the most part, there's a whole host of different games and loads of different titles I never got around to playing because I was putting it off until the Switch came out. And now I can revisit those. So as a value proposition, this thing is really good. The other reason this might appeal to so many of you out there, this is something that's coming through loud and clear for everybody watching our handheld videos, seeing it in the comments all the time, but if you are a Pokemon fan, then this is just one of the best devices to own. Whether or not it's the 2DS or the 3DS or just anything within that lineup, you have such a back catalogue of Pokemon games and good Pokemon games as well. Obviously, there are newer versions available for the Nintendo Switch. You can get Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, or Pokemon Sword and Shield, but you know, that's kind of divisive, and whether or not you like those is, I guess it's a bit of an opinion piece, but we're not going to get into that. However, if you want to be able to play all the old school Pokemon, you can literally play from Pokemon Blue, Red and Yellow through to Sun and Moon. So there are so many different games that you can pick up for this, and they're all reasonably priced as well. If you go onto the Virtual Console, you can download things like Silver, Gold. There are just so many different games you'll be able to play from the Pokemon franchise all the way through to Sun and Moon. And one of the great things about doing it this way, rather than on something like an emulator, is you can then start to link this up with Pokemon Home, transfer everything from Pokemon Bank onto Pokemon Home, so that way you can then use those Pokemon in future titles if you want to. Again, it's just a nice service overall because of that. So if you're a Pokemon fan, this thing absolutely kills it, and for that alone it's probably worth picking up. Having this to be able to play all the old Pokemon titles is just absolutely amazing. The graphics on it are just really surprisingly good, and I don't know why I expected them to be anything less than they are, but I just had some memories of it being meh. But actually it's really surprising little device. So yeah, all in all, picking one of these up in 2021, is it worth it? And the answer is most definitely yes. We're not going to dive into it too much more because ultimately there's so much said in the unboxing video and I don't want to make this video extremely long. But if you are looking to be able to play a whole host of different handheld titles that run really well, then the 2DS and the 3DS still stand up today. You can still access the eShop to get your games. You can still pick them up brand new, or you can buy them on eBay and places like that. And there are so many different titles available. If you're a Pokemon fan, then it pretty much is a must-have device device, and if you don't have one, then just get it. It definitely, in my opinion, beats out having something like the Retroid Pocket 2, because although you can do your games emulation, there are some drops in performance and stuff like that on there, and you don't get a lot of the online features like you get with something like the 2DS and the 3DS. So for that, it's an absolute must-have if you are a Pokemon fan. And then Pokemon aside, there are just so many different titles out there. There's loads I didn't even realise were on there, and one of those is the original Resident Evil, Dead Silence, which is apparently one of the best ways to play the original Resident Evil. So I'm definitely going to have to pick that up and give it a go. So like I said, absolutely worthwhile picking one of these up in 2021. You can get some pretty good deals. Some of you in the comments even mentioned that you managed to pick them up for as low as $10, which is an absolute steal if you can get one of these for $10. This I've found on eBay for around about £40 or £50. Not too sure about dollars, but it's definitely worthwhile having a look. But if you want something that is really good as a handheld device that plays a massive backlog of amazing titles, then it's absolutely the device for you. And I've had an absolute blast revisiting this, so try it out for yourself. Now, I hope you've enjoyed that video, and if you've got any questions about the 2DS or even the 3DS, pop them down in the comments below. And whilst you're down there, hit the subscribe button, because it just helps the channel to grow, and it makes YouTube push us out to a few more people as well. In the meantime, we'll be back in the future with some more awesome content, so stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.